Okay, so pasensya kayo kanina, wala nakaklase, but I'll just have it recorded. Basically, we will discuss local taxation or the local government taxation. Okay, so first is we need to identify first what are the fundamental principles of having a local government taxation, because what we've learned about is that taxation is exercised usually by our national government. However, di ba, as mentioned, there are two kinds of taxation based on who exercises authority. It can be imposed by the national government and by the local government. So this time, we'll discuss the taxation that is imposed or under the authority of the local government. And we need to check what are the fundamental principles. Ganong makatax man ang local government? Nga dapat si national government. So what are the principles? Here. Okay. Number one. So taxation shall be uniform in each local government unit. So this means that once a local tax has been imposed in Cebu City, then it should be also imposed in Mandaue, in Lapu-Lapu, the same. Okay? Because again, it should be uniform in each local government unit. Dili pwede nga lahi-lahi. Second, taxes, fees, charges, and other impositions shall be, of course, it must be aligned sa requirement sa Constitution. It must be equitable and based as far as practicable on the taxpayer's ability to pay. Diba? We have ability to pay theory, supporting that na kinsay makabayad, kung na capacity to pay, then you need to pay your tax. Second, be levied and collected only for public purposes. Of course, you cannot create or collect taxes for private. It should be for public purposes. The same with the national taxes. Second, not be unjust, excessive, oppressive, and confiscatory. So the same principle or sa national taxes, yeah, dapat dili unjust nga kinilang ang taksan ang uban dili. It should not be excessive. It should be based on the ability to pay. Okay? It should not be oppressive and confiscatory in nature. And the last one is, it must not be contrary to law, public policy, national economic policy, or in restraint of trade. So before the local government unit can impose or collect taxes, they must follow the principles, especially this taxes, fees, and charges, and other impositions shall be in accordance with the four as stated. The next one, principle, is that the collection of local taxes, fees, charges, and other impositions shall not be left to any private person. Why? It should be the government should collect taxes. It should be the local government unit who can exercise. If the national gani, the one that who will administer and collect taxes is the BIR. For the local government, it is the city treasurer or the municipal treasurer. Okay, if it's barangay level, then the barangay treasurer. If it is provincial treasurer. Okay, it should be the local government. Dili na pwede i-delegate to any private person. Okay, the same sa national taxes. Fourth one, the revenue collected shall inure solely to the benefit of and be subject to the disposition by the LGU levying the tax, fee, charges, or other imposition unless otherwise provided herein. Okay, of course, as we know that it should be public purpose, but dapat kung sige collect sa LGU sa Cebu City, then it should be gastuon within the Cebu City lang side because the taxes is being collected within that jurisdiction man. It should be used solely for the benefit of its residents, okay, or constituents of that certain LGU. Last one principle is that each LGU shall, as far as practicable, involve a progressive system of taxation. Okay, so this is aligned as well with the mandate of our constitution that we are, as far as practicable, Congress is required to, implement a progressive system of taxation. So again, the progressive system of taxation will support what theory? The ability to pay theory. So if you, the more income you earn, the more taxes you pay. Mo na ang progressive. Okay? And there are two kinds of system, right? Progressive and regressive. So basically, Philippines uses the progressive system of taxation because the more income you earn, the more taxes you pay. Now let's go to the nature and sources of taxing power of the LGU. Diin man gikan ang power nila. Okay? What is the nature of the power of LGU to tax? Number one, it is not inherent. Why? Because municipal corporations being a mere creatures of law, or because municipal corporations are public corporation that is created by a charter or a law, may exercise the power to tax only if delegated to them by the national government or national legislature, or as conferred by the Constitution. Okay, so under the 1987 Constitution, guys, it directly grants the LGU the power to tax. Okay? So, naana siya sa Constitution. Ang I forgot the correct number, but it states there that the LGU will have the autonomous fiscal autonomy na siya. Okay? So meaning they can, create their own, they can collect their own revenue for them to run their own LGU, I mean the local government unit, city. Okay, so later on I will provide that one. Okay, so not inherent. Why? Ang national tax mo ay inherent. Okay, but si LGU, it is not inherent because it is dependent upon the delegation of the national government. Okay, diba? As a general rule, there are twofold nature man sa taxes. Diba? Inherent in nature and katong legislative function, right? So again, as a general rule, taxing power cannot be delegated except katong sa local government, katong sa president to fix the tariff and customs and duties, and katong for the administration of tax remedies exemption. So kana ra ang pwede nga sana siya delegate. Okay? So ang source sa taxing power sa LGU is delegation from the national government. Okay? That is why it is not in here. Number two, limited. Why limited? Because the taxing power of LGU is not absolute because it is subject to such guidelines and limitation that Congress may provide. Okay? So, kung di sila tagaan na sa Congress power to collect taxes, then they cannot exercise the power. That is why it is limited. But the national taxes, it is unlimited. Legislative in nature. Still, it is legislative in nature. Why? Because the power to impose taxes is vested only in the legislative body of that certain LGU. Okay? So, the sanggunian of each LGU. So, if you're talking about city, it is the city council, city councilor, headed by your vice mayor. Okay? Or kung munisipyo na is the municipal councilors. If the barangay, that's the barangay councilor, headed by their, usually, ang legislative body sa city at sa municipal is the vice mayor as the head, plus the councilors. Okay, because who exercises executive power, it is the mayor. Okay, sa barangay, it is different because the barangay captain is included of the legislative body. Okay, if we're talking about province na sad, it is the board member, mananay board member per district because they represent us in the legislative body of the province. Okay, it is headed as well by the vice governor. Number four, it is territorial. Why it is territorial? Because it can only be exercised within the territorial jurisdiction of each LGU. Kung nag-impose ka o real property taxes sa Cebu City, then that real property taxes dapat sa property lang na located sa Cebu City. You cannot impose that one sa property na located sa Lapu-Lapu or sa Mandaue. Okay? So it is territorial in jurisdiction. Naman ang business permit, kung na kay branch sa Lapu-Lapu, nasa kay branch sa Cebu City, hindi pwede nga sa Cebu City lang ka makuha o business permit. You need to require or to secure a permit as well sa Lapu-Lapu. Because again, business permit is a local government tax and it is exercised by the LGU in its jurisdiction. Okay? Next, those are the nature of taxing power. Okay, so it is not inherent. Why? Because it is only dependent to the national delegation or the national legislature delegated power to them or as mandated by the Constitution. It is limited because again, LGUs can only exercise taxes, collect taxes based on the delegated authority given to them by the Congress. It is legislative in nature because it should be exercised first. Dapat nasa ordinance ang mga councilors. Okay? And territorial in nature because it is only exercised within its jurisdiction. Local taxing authority. The power to impose a tax, fee, or charges or to generate revenue under the local government code shall be exercised by the sanggunian of the LGU through an appropriate ordinance as mentioned. Okay, so kanang one, sanggunian palangigan for the province, panglungsod for the city, bayan for municipality, and sanggunian barangay for the barangay. So they need to pass an ordinance for them to collect a tax. Later on, we'll discuss what are the requirements for a valid ordinance to be effective. Okay, so again, take note that the exercise of the power to tax by the local legislative assembly is subject to the veto power of the local chief executive. So, kung may ordinance ni pasa ang council, then it can be vetoed by the mayor or the governor. Okay. So, authority to prescribe penalties for tax violation. So, di ba, BIR, kung maliit ka na penalties. So, same with the local government. They can impose penalty. However, there's a limit. So, the sanggunian of an LGU is authorized to prescribe fines or other penalties for violation of tax ordinances. In no case shall such fines be less than 1,000 nor more than 1,000. So, it should be 1,000 to 5,000. Okay, that's the requirement. Second, nor shall imprisonment be less than 1 month, no more than 6 months. So they can impose imprisonment. Pero dapat dili mo less than sa 1 month, nor more than 6 months. So within 1 month to 6 months lang ang ilang pwedeng na ma-impose as penalty. And the second is such fine or other penalty or both shall be imposed at the discretion of the court. Okay? So mo follow mo gyapon. So you still go to the court to question the violations that you made. The sanggunian barangay may prescribe a fine of not less than 100 but not more than 1,000. So, if tanaw na ninyo, if pataka na inyong mga barangay diha o impose yung penalty, please take note that under the section 516 of the local government code, the barangay can only impose a penalty of 100 up to 1,000. Okay? So, sa barangay na. Pero kung municipality, cities, and province, up to 5,000 but not less than 1,000. So the authority to grant local tax exemption. So can LGU grant tax exemption? Under the section 192 of the local government code, it provides that LGUs may, through its ordinances, grant tax exemptions, incentives, or reliefs under such terms and conditions as they may deem necessary. So they can exempt someone or businesses from paying business tax if they want. Okay, as long as there's a valid ordinance. Okay, ordinance, guys, is just like an effect of a law. Okay, but ordinance lang siya because limited naman ang iyang jurisdiction. Ang iyang effectivity is only effective within that specific LGU na nagpasar anang ordinance. So can the exemption be withdrawn? Local tax exemption in general, unless otherwise provided, tax exemption or exemptives granted to presently enjoyed by all persons, whether natural or juridical, including government-owned or controlled corporations, are withdrawn upon the effectivity of the LGC. What are the exemptions to these tax exemptions not withdrawn? These are the local districts. So, pwede nila i-withdraw, di ba? Local government can withdraw the tax exemption na ilang nahatag. However, dili pwede nila i-withdraw ang exemption sa local water district. So, di na pwede maghimog ordinance just to eliminate or remove the exemption of local water district. Cooperatives duly registered under the Public Act 6938, which is the Cooperative Code of the Philippines, and in-unstock non-profit hospital and educational institution. So, di na pwede maghimog ordinance para lang mawa ang tax exemption. Okay? Because that tax exemption is mandated by our national law. And which prevail, ordinances or the national law? It is the national law. Okay? Kung prevail guna, kay mao man ang pinakataas. And the ordinance emanates from that law, that national law. Okay, so section 193 is an express and general repeal of all statutes granting exemption from local taxes. It withdraw the sweeping tax privilege previously enjoyed by private and public corporations. So, authority to adjust local tax rate. So, LGU shall have the authority to adjust the tax rate not oftener than once every 5 years. So, once every 5 years lang sila pwede mag-adjust of tax rate. For example, diba, naman ay, business tax. So, depende mo na sa sales. So, they can adjust that, but only once every 5 years. Dili every year pwede mag-adjust. But in no case shall the adjustment exceed 10% of the rate fixed by the local government code. So, sila pwede mag-adjust lang pasakaan og maayo, but it should only be up to 10%. Residual taxing power of local government. LGUs may exercise the power to levy taxes, fees, and charges on any base or subject not otherwise specifically enumerated in the LGC or tax under the NRIC or other applicable laws. Okay, so na may double taxation, sir? No. Again, one of the requisite of double taxation is it is exercised by the same taxing authority. Here, it is exercised by the local government unit, but the other taxes is exercised by the national government. So there's no double taxation. Limitations on the taxing power of LGU. Of course, again, it is limited, right? So there's a limitation. Number one, it should not be unjust, excessive, oppressive, confiscatory, or contrary to declared national policy as discussed. Pursuant to an ordinance enacted after a public hearing conducted for that purpose. So before an ordinance can be, effective, dapat nasa public hearing. If all constituents in the particular LGU agree on that particular ordinance. Okay? Subject to the constitutional limitation on the power to tax, of course, kay ang national tax gani na limitation, constitutional limitation, how much more local government taxation. Okay? And of course, the principle of preemption. Principle of preemption or exclusionary doctrine. Preemption is the matter of taxation simply refers to an instance where the national government elects to tax a particular area, impliedly withholding from the local tax government the delegated power to tax the same field. Okay, so this doctrine primarily rests upon the intention of the Congress. So preemption is or exclusionary doctrine is kana na siyang mag-tax mi ani, for example, sa Cebu because Dakag Beach, so tanang kuan mo nga ini tourism taxes. So once moingon nga mga mi ani sa national government, then dili na mo impose si local government unit og another tax. So mo nang exclusionary. Okay? So di na ka maghimo, of course, that's a doctrine rest upon the intention of the Congress. So the Congress can create a law nga mag-tax sila aning particular municipality or province, tapos si province di na pwede mag-tax balik. Okay? Okay? So conversely, should Congress allow municipal corporations to cover fields of taxation, taxation it already occupies, then the doctrine of preemption will not apply. Again, because again, doctrine of preemption, dapat si national government ra ang collect sa tax. So iyang gidid-an, iyang sana siya, wa na gi-allow si municipal corporations or si LGU to collect the same taxes, then doctrine of preemption or exclusionary doctrine is applicable. But umingon si Congress through its enacted laws nga municipal corporations can still, collect the same taxes, then doctrine of preemption is not applicable. Okay, allow man niya to cover fields of taxation it already occupies. Okay, what is the source of the taxing power? Scope, I mean. So what are, what are the different forms of LGU? Okay, so we have your province, municipality, city. Actually, city is divided pagina into two. Highly urbanized, okay, cities, and katong not highly urbanized. Okay, but as the basic lang, province, municipality, city, and barangay. Kanang upa. Okay, so muna siya ang imong different kinds of LGU: province, city, municipality, and barangay. So, si province, what is the scope? So, except as provided by the LGC, province may levy only the following taxes and charges and fees. Transfer of real property ownership. So, pwede sila makakollect. Okay, mo nang mapa-tax declaration ka, so bayad ka na sa munisipyo. Okay, so na siya. Aside sa property tax, so na siya kung magpa-transfer ka property. Business of printing and publication. Okay, so kana mga newspaper, wala naman kayo na ron. Okay, so franchise tax. Okay, for everything related sa franchise, the province can collect franchise tax. Tax on sand, gravel, and other quarry resources, o ng mga bulbon sa sapa, the province has the power to tax over it. Okay, ang province ang nai-power ana. Okay, fifth, professional tax. They can collect that one if you're exercising profession in the particular province. Amusement tax, okay? If you do amusement businesses, mga casino and the like. Annual fixed tax for every delivery truck or van. It can be paid. It can be collected, I mean. So municipality, may levy taxes, fees, and charges not otherwise levied by provinces. Kung wala na nag-collect sa province, 7 naman na. So if napailain, then the municipality can collect that one on sa ilang side. Okay, so same sa city, fees and charges which the province or municipality may impose. Okay, so may levy or levy taxes, fees, and charges which the province or municipality may impose. So the city can impose taxes the same sa province. Okay. Barangay may only levy only the following: taxes on stores or retailers, service fees or charges, of course barangay clearance, other fees and charges. Okay, so take note, kanang taxes and gravel, it is exercised by the province. Dili si barangay captain ang mo-collect. Okay, it is the provincial government. Okay, here, so there's a specific taxing power of LGUs. So tax on transfer of real property is only exercised by the province and the city. Okay, tax on printing and publication, province and city as well. So franchise tax, only the province can collect and the city, if ever. Tax on sand and gravel, it can only be exercised by the province and the city. Professional tax, amusement tax, annual fixed tax for delivery truck or van, or producers or sellers of retailers of certain products. So they can collect. Tax on businesses, it can be exercised by the municipality. Mana nga mag-mayor's permit yuga. That is why, or city mayor's permit yapon sa city. Fees and charges on regulations, licensing of business or occupation of practice or profession. So they can collect that one. Okay. The city and municipality. Fees on selling and licensing of weights and measures. So ano mga timbangan. Isa'y kuanlaan only the city and the municipality. Okay, kaya karamihan na sa merkado. Fishery rentals, fees and charges. Of course, it is the municipality or the city where the fishery land or property is located. Community tax. Community tax, di ba yung mga nasa barangay? Delegated na sa barangay ang community tax or cedula. But it should be remitted, kaya nasa barangay, it should be remitted sa municipality or sa city hall. Okay, because under the local government code, it is only exercised by the municipality and the city. Okay, so kung na mag-sidula sa barangay, it is just a delegated power from the city or municipality just to, to fast track the issuance of the cedula. Okay, so what the barangay can exercise or collect. So again, tax on small scale stores, barangay business clearance, they can have mga sari-sari store, mga naog, barangay clearance, mao na siya. Service fees, charges on regulation of use of barangay owned properties, kana mga complex, multi-purpose building, the barangay can collect. Okay, barangay clearance, of course. Other fees and charges in commercial breeding, fighting cocks, cockpits, recreation with charges admission fees. Of course, the barangay can exercise or collect taxes on that. Okay, so reasonable fees and charges for services rendered. So the four can exercise or can collect taxes. Public utility charges, it can be collected by the province, kana mga, any public utility. Okay, they can ask for additional taxes on that one. So water, of course, water private, okay, not the local water district. So kana mga electricity. So yeah, they can, because that's public utility. Toll fees and charges, it can be exercised by all of the local government units. Okay, because again, kung asa man na moagi ang daan, because toll fees usually for maintenance of the roads. Real property tax. The real property tax is annual na siya. So it can be exercised by the province, by the city, and the municipality. The barangay cannot collect a real property tax. Okay. Now let's go to the taxing power of provinces. So, di ba, natanong kanina, so atong i-dig deeper. So, impose on the sale of donation of barter or any mode of transfer of ownership of title to real property. Real property. Okay? So, tax rate, it should be not more than 50% of 1%. Okay? So, muna ang gikuan sa LGC. So, it should not be more than 50% of 1%. So, 0.5%. Okay? It should not, dili malapas ng 0.5%. Okay? So, pwede rin 0.04 or 0.5%, 0.50%. So the tax base should be the total acquisition price or fair market value if monetary consideration is not substantial, whichever is higher. Okay. So again, exemption, sale, barter, other substitution of property pursuant to the agrarian reform law. So kung transfer but through agrarian reform law, then that is exempted from paying the transfer tax. Diba? Sa national, napatay estate, napatay capital gains tax. So sa government, sa local government can impose their taxes as well. Hindi mo ka mga taga-anong tax declare, hindi ka ma-register diya sa assessor's office. So naman yung mga clearances, mo na pangayuhan ka na. So who are liable? So seller, donor, transfer, executor, and administrator. Time of payment, which should be 60 days from the date of execution of the deed of sale, or from the date of the decedent's death, if it is an estate. So evidence of the payment of tax must be presented to the registry of deeds before registration and to the provincial assessors before the cancellation of an old tax declaration. So, di ba? Before ka-issue ng tax declaration, pamayaron sa kaana. Okay, para ma-transfer. Para ma-issuehan ka new tax debt na under sa name. So, let's go to the business and printing and publication. So, this is imposed on business of person engaged in the printing or publication of books, cards, poster, leaflets, handbills, certificate, receipts, pamphlets, and other similar nature. So, ano na silang mga nangnegosyo o printing and publication. The Sun Star, okay, Daily News, if napana sila karon, yeah, of course, Rex Bookstore, it can be because they publish books, okay, printing, kaya makapilan dyan, they are required to pay additional taxes. So what's the rate? Again, not exceeding 50% of 1%. The tax base is gross annual receipts of the preceding calendar year. So gross receipts. In the case of the newly started business, so it should not be, the tax rate should not exceed 1/20th of 1%. So gamay ra kayo. And the capital investment is your tax base. So again, receipts from printing or publishing of books and other reading materials prescribed by the Department of Education as school text or reference are tax exempt. So actually, kung si Rex Bookstore is just printing naman na sila of reading materials for educational purposes, right? Or schools, then they are not subject to this because they are exempted. So let's go to franchise taxes. So again, it is exercised by the province. So imposed on business enjoying a franchise from the government. So radio, city franchise, telecommunication franchise, and sila. Again, the rate is still 50% of 1%. Tax base, it should be gross annual receipts of the preceding calendar year based on the incoming receipt or realized within its territorial jurisdiction. So in the case of a newly sustained, it is 1/20th of 1% and the capital investment. So exemption or no exemption. So notwithstanding any exemption granted by any law or other special law, the province may impose a tax on businesses enjoying a franchise. So bisan pagkitagaan na sila o national law, then the province can still collect a franchise tax. Okay, so just read to it. What is a franchise tax? It is a tax on the privilege of transacting business in the state and exercising corporate functions granted by the state. It is likely levied on the corporation simply for existing as a corporation. So, yeah, please read through the requisites na lang, ha? Now, tax on sand kini always yun siya source sa question. Tax on sand and gravel and other quarry resources. Ano mga bunbon, mga bato, mga quarry sa barangay, nagtuo nga sa barangay, it is levied by the province. Okay? So, levied on ordinary stones, gravel, earth, and other quarry resources as defined in the NIRC is extracted from the public lands or from the bed of the seas, lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, and other public waters within its territorial jurisdiction. So, kanang sa subang dako, sa Mandawi rin naka-enjoy, dapat yung mga bunbun, mga bato nga makuha. Okay? So, tax rate, it should be not more than 10%. Okay? And the fair tax base is the fair market value of the locality per cubic meter of the extracted resources. There's no exemption being granted. Who issue permit to extract issued exclusively by the provincial governor pursuant to an ordinance by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. So mga apply sa o permit sa provincial office for you to extract this sand, gravel, and other quarry resources. But then again, nanay do si province ang mo-collect, guys, sa entire amount, but nanay distribution. Di mo tong gingon na dili si barangay ang mo-collect, but si province. However, na I share si barangay sa ma-collect. So this is the distribution. So out of the 100%, 30% mo to sa province, 30% sa component city or municipality, where the resources were extracted, and the 40% of that tax should go to the barangay. So kung imong barangay, bukid-bukid, ito man gihimong dolomite, gato sa Manila Bay, sa Alcoy, then the barangay can earn a 40% income. Okay? If nagbayad to 1 million, so nasa like 400,000 ang barangay. Kung asa to gikuha ang dolomite. Okay? But then again, you need to secure permit sa probinsya, sa province, okay, sa kapitolyo, not sa barangay. Professional tax, exercise or practice of profession requiring government examinations, which is the lawyer, PR, mga PRC licenses, doctors, nurses, accountants, okay? So, again, a person who has paid a professional tax is entitled to practice his profession anywhere in the country without being subjected to similar taxes for the practice of such profession. Okay, so take note ha. So once makakuha ng professional tax, kaisa ra ka makuha og professional tax. Okay? Because as mandated by the law, the local government code, a person who has paid a professional tax is entitled to practice his profession anywhere in the country. So ako taga Balamban ko, so if nibayad na ko og professional tax na ako diri sa Balamban, though it is under the province of Cebu, okay? So dili na ko moadto og Manila, mag-practice ko dito as a CPA, then I don't need to pay professional tax there because nakabayad naman ko. And the rate is not to exceed 300 pesos ang professional tax. Usually 300 pesos yun ang paninyon. Okay? I-max na nila. And such amount and reasonable classification determined by the Sangguniang Pampublikan. Okay, so exemption, na ba exempted ani? Professional tax, yes. Those professional exclusively employed by the government. So kung employed ka sa government, then you are not required to pay professional tax. So kung accountant ka sa government, then nakamukha og PPR. Pero kung private practice ka, then you need to get place of payment to the province where the professional is practiced or where the principal office is maintained. So ako, kung nako'y office sa Cebu City, nasa may office dito sa Balamban, then I can either get my PTR sa City Hall sa Cebu and pay here sa munisipyo sa Balamban. But then again, Balamban is under the province of Cebu. It's just a delegation that the municipal treasurer will just collect. Kasi ato yung kapitolyo, malayo kayo. And then time of payment, so payable annually on or before January 31. Okay. Amusement tax, so collected from proprietors, lessees, operators of theaters, cinemas, concerts hall, circuses, boxes, stadia, studio, other places of amusement. Okay. So again, what are the following not subject to amusement tax? Are as follows. Resort, swimming pools, kanang mga bathhouses, hot spring, and other tourist spots are not subject to amusement tax. Okay? So kanang mga resort, okay? It is not subject to amusement tax. Professional basketball games is not subject to amusement tax. Golf courses is also not subject to amusement tax. And those subject to amusement tax under the NRIC. So kung kuhaan ka amusement tax sa National Internal Revenue Code, okay, kato mga PAGCOR, something like that, okay, then you are not subject to amusement tax sa local government. Okay, madoble na yung section. Okay, still, tax rate should not be more than 10% and tax base should be the gross receipts of admission. Exemption, so muna to, okay? So holding another exempted is holding of operas, concert, dramas, recital, paintings, and art, flower shows, musical, literary, and oratorical presentation. Those are not subject to amusement tax because mo siya in support dun sa cultural heritage sa Philippines. Okay? Exemption to the exemption is pop, rock, or similar concert. So mag-concert si Sarah dira, then that is sa Cebu City, then ka na mga admission na subject to amusement tax na siya. Okay? Pero kung mag-concert ang, ang mga members of the Philippine, sana siya, folk dance, something like that. So, as long as it is, you know, cultivating the cultural or um, promoting cultural heritage, then that is not subject to amusement tax of the local government. Okay? So the distribution of the proceeds is shared equally by the province and the municipality where the amusement places are located. But kung sa city na, kung highly urbanized para sa Cebu City, because that's a standalone city na, then the proceeds is sa city alone. Okay? But kung sa example lang, Bugo City, Bugo is under sa Cebu Province, then tungaon na equal, 50-50 ang income sa amusement tax. Okay, tax on delivery of truck bonds or truck or bonds. So imposed on vehicles used by manufacturers, producers, wholesalers, dealers, or retailers in the delivery of distribution of the distilled spirits, fermented liquors, soft drinks, cigarettes, and other products as may be determined by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan to sales outlet or consumers in the province whether directly or indirectly. So it should not be exceeding 500 pesos per truck. Okay. Now let's go to the municipality. What are those scope under some municipality? This is provided by section 142. Okay, tax on various types of businesses. So manufacturer, assemblers, repackers, processor, brewers, distillers, rectifiers, and compounders of liquor, distilled spirit, wines, or any article of commerce of whatever kind or nature is also the municipality can impose tax on that one. What's the rate? So from 165 to 24,375 per annum. So between that one, or a rate not exceeding 37%, 37.5% of 1%. So dapat within 165 to 24,375 lang ang ilang makuha na business tax. Wala na limit. Okay? And that is based on gross sales or receipts. Depende. It is service or receipts, service. Sales is for sale goods. If you are a wholesaler, distributor, or dealers of any article of commerce of whatever kind or nature, dito kay more on liquors man to, di ba? Mga wines, okay? So in any whatever kind or nature, as long as you are a distributor or wholesaler, you need to pay a tax of 18 pesos to 10,000, okay? Or a rate not exceeding 5,000, 50% of 1%. So before kung nagtrabaho ko din sa Balambay, Ostal, so maximum ng 10,000 yung binabayaran. Okay. Bisag kung sa pakadako imong company. And it's also based on gross sales or receipt. Okay. If you are an exporter, manufacturers, miller, producer, wholesaler, distributor, dealers, or retailers of essential commodities enumerated below, so essential commodities na ni, so the tax rate should not exceed 1/2 of rates prescribed under Section 143 A, B, C, and D of the Local Government Code on manufacturing, wholesale, distribution. So dapat di mo exceed sa 1/2 of 1% actually. So essential commodities, what are those? So we have your rice and corn, wheat or cassava flour, meat, dairy products, locally manufactured, processed, or preserved food, sugar, salt, and other agricultural, marine, and freshwater products, whether in original state or not. Okay. Cooking oil, cooking gas, cement, laundry soap, detergent, and medicine. Agricultural implements, equipment, and post-harvest facilities, fertilizer, pesticides, poultry feeds, and other animal feeds, school supplies. Those are basic or essential commodities which is subject to 1/2 of 1%, not exceeding 1/2 of 1%. So if you're a retailer, importer mo to, no? Diba? Importer to. Next is retailer. If you're a retailer, then 2% per annum on sales, not exceeding 400,000. Okay? But If we exceed na 400,000, then the rate is 1% per annum. Okay? Again, sales, gross sales or receipt ang tax base. So barangays have the exclusive power to tax gross sales or receipts amounting to 50,000 or less in case of cities. Okay? So, or 30,000 or less in case of municipality. So, the barangay can impose 2% and 1%. Okay? Kaya kay municipality man, kung exceeding 400, not exceeding 400, it's 2%. But to exceeding 1%. Pero si barangay, 50,000 lagi na or less, din sa barangay na mo has the exclusive power to tax. Okay? Dili na si municipio. Gamay na sa kanya 50,000, 30,000. Mura, si barangay na mo take over pag-collect sa taxes, business tax. Okay, contractors and other independent contractors. So, you need to pay 27 pesos, 27.50 pesos to 11,500 or a rate not exceeding 50% of 1% or 1/2%. Same tax base, okay? Banks and other financial institutions yun nasa municipality, they are required to pay business tax of 50% of 1%. Peddlers engage in the sale of any merchandise of articles of commerce. So tax rate is not exceeding 50 pesos per peddler annually. So what is a peddler? It is means any person who either for himself or on a commission travel from place to place and sell his goods or offers to sell and deliver the same. Okay, money peddlers. Any other businesses which the sangguniang concern may be improper to tax. So tax base should be gross sales or receipts, and the tax rate is the sanggunian may prescribe a schedule of graduated tax rate, but in no case to exceed the rate prescribed by the local government code. Okay. So for any business subject to excise, value-added tax, or percentage tax under the NIRC, the rate of tax shall not exceed 2% of the gross sales or receipt of the preceding year. So kung subject na sa national tax, then it should not, ang tax na i-impose dapat wala pa sa 2%. That's mandated. Okay, so next, tax base of local business tax. So again, the business tax must be based on gross sales if selling goods or receipt of selling services. It is being different from gross revenue. Okay. So just read to it. I think discuss nila gross sales or receipt include the total amount of money or its equivalent representing the contract price, compensation, services fee, including the amount charged of raw materials supplied with the services and deposit of advance payments actually or constructively received during the taxable quarter for the service performed or to be performed for another person, excluding the discounts if determinable at the time of sales, sales return, and excise tax and VAT. Excluding the discount, sales return, excise tax, and VAT in determining the gross sales or receipt for local government taxation. So, ang difference sa gross revenue? Because gross revenue covers money and its equivalent actually constructively received, including the value of service rendered or articles sold in exchange or lease, the payment of which is yet to be received. Okay. Talk about gross revenue. Okay, tax on retirement of business. So upon termination of a business subject to tax under section 143 and 144, it shall submit a sworn statement of its gross sales or receipt. Kung imo na i-close yung business ba, submit yung sworn statement sa munisipyo na. Okay? Detailing kung pila imong halin for the specific year or the current year. If the tax paid is less than the tax due, the difference shall be paid before the business is considered officially retired or closed. Okay. Rules on payment of business tax. So tax imposed under section 143 of the local government code shall be paid every separate or distinct establishment or place where the business subject to tax is conducted. Okay? Sometimes it can be annually, it can be semi-annual or quarterly. Sa Cebu City, it's quarterly. But sa ubang munisipyo, it's annually. Gagmay ramang gutod. Okay? On one line of business is not exempted from being conducted with some other business for which tax has been paid. So you can have multiple businesses. Okay? The tax on a business must be paid by the person conducting it. Of course, kung ikaw tag-iyan, you are the one to pay the tax. If a person operates two or more businesses mentioned in section 1.43, the tax shall be computed as follows. First, on the combined total gross sales or receipts if they are subject to the same tax rate, or it can be done separately based on the gross sales or receipt of each business if they are subject to a different tax. Okay? So pwede naman sa gulon if same tax rate. If not, then pwede buwagon ng computation. Just take note that condominium corporations are not business entities, okay? Are thus not subject to local business tax. Kung condominium, so di na siya business Di na sila subject sa business tax. Even though the corporation is empowered to levy assessment or dues from the unit owners or association dues, these amounts are not intended for the incurrence of profit by the corporation but shoulder the multiple necessary expenses for the maintenance of the said condominium. Okay, so kanang association dues sa condominium, guys, di na considered as profit. Okay? And condominium units is not considered as a business. Mo nang di na sila liable to pay business tax. Okay? Hindi mo na sila for profit. So, what is the situs of business tax or the place? So, in case of a person maintaining, operating a branch or sales outlet, making the sale or transaction, the sale shall be recorded in the said branch or sales outlet, and the tax paid to the municipality where the branch or sales outlet is located. So if na ako multiple branches na ako sa Cebu City, nasa ko sa Lapu-Lapu, nasa ko sa Bugo, then each branches must pay in business tax. Okay, sa Bugo, sa Lapu-Lapu, sa Cebu City. Okay, dili lang kay sa Cebu City ra. Then i-carry over na ako dito. No. It should be on the per branch. Kung unsay sales sa branch, para na pay computer for business tax. Okay? So, just take note lang ng branch or sales office. So, we have rule number 2. When there's no branch or sales outlet in the city municipality where the sale is made, okay, the sale shall be recorded in the principal office and the tax shall be paid to such municipality. So, if wala ko'y branch, for example, akong business with, akong principal office nasa Cebu City. But naman na, maligya akong lingkuranan. So, nahalin ako lingkuranan sa Konsolasyon. So, do I need to pay business tax sa Konsolasyon? No. Because, ako ko'y branch sa Konsolasyon. So, akong sale sa Konsolasyon is ato na ko i-record sa sale na ko sa Cebu City. And as ako mo pay sa business tax sa Cebu City. Muna yung rule number 2. Kung walay branch. Ganina, naman kay branch sa Bugo, nas kay branch sa Lapu-Lapu. So, ang sale sa Lapu-Lapu ni bayaran. Ang sale sa Bugo ni bayaran. So again, principal office is the head or main office of the business. We have rule number 3. In the case of a manufacturers, assembler, contractor, producers, and other exporters having factories, project offices, plants, plantation, proceeds shall be allocated as follows. So 30% of sales recorded in the principal office shall be taxable by the city where the principal office is located. Okay? So take note kung naakoy business, pero nasa ko yung mga plantation. Okay? Naakoy mga factories ang nasa laing lugar. Okay? So ganyan sa Balamban, plantation of saging na diri ang plantation. Imig-harvest dan ulit sa Cebu City kay Yuhan. So kana, okay, asa man ako bayaran ang tax. Okay? Ang business tax. Unsa na siya? So na rule number 3. So 30% daw sa sales recorded in the principal office shall be taxable by the city where the principal office is located. So kung sa Cebu City ang principal office, bisag na ako'y factory sa Balamban, 30% of that sale is bayaran ako sa Cebu City. Okay? And 70% shall be taxable by the city municipality where the factory, office plant, or plantation is located. So 30% ato na kabayaran sa Cebu City kay gidaman ako mga bananas dito, di ba? For further processing, but ang plantation naman sa Balamban, ang 70% atong sale is ato na kabayaran ang business tax sa Balamban. Next. Mao na siya ang rule number 3, basta planta na, okay, or plantation. Dili branch, okay? Kay kung branch asa man ang sale ato na, okay? So there's an illustration. A company has a principal office in Mandaluyong and a sales office and a factory in Santa Rosa. So sales made in Mandaluyong will be recorded in Mandaluyong. Sales made in Santa Rosa by Santa Rosa sales office will be recorded in Santa Rosa. Sales made in Los Baños, Calamba, or Cabuyao, delivered to customers located in these places are not made by Santa Rosa's sales office will be recorded in Mandaluyong because si Mandaluyong man ang principal. Okay. The allocation shall be as follows. So 30% at sa Mandaluyong, ang tax, i-record siya sa Mandaluyong as principal, but ang taxes is 30% at sa Mandaluyong bayaran. Ang 70% of that is sa Santa Rosa, Laguna because naaman dito ang factory. Okay. Rule number 4. In case the plantation is located in a place other than the place where the factory is located, the 70% rule will be divided as follows. Okay, so 60% na to the city municipality where the factory is located, and then 40% to the city or municipality where the plantation is located. So, lahi ang plantation sa Balamban, tapos nasa Mandawi or ang imong okay, so imong office gyud nasa Cebu, principal office. Imong plantations, imong product ay ketchup. Okay? So, for example, nakay plantation of tomatoes sa Balamban. Okay? Pero, ang mga tomatoes, adto nimo sa Mandawi, kinadito ng factory. So, saan na siya pagbahin? So, still, the 30% nga sales is adto gyapon sa Cebu City because siya man ang principal office. Di ba na 70%? Ang 70% karon bahino na pa na siya. 60% ana, 60% of the 70% kung asa located ang factory. So asa man located ang factory sa Mandawi. So i-declare na dito sa Mandawi ato ka mabayad business tax. 40% of the 70% is asa ang plantation. So plantation sa tomatoes naman sa Balamban. So i-declare na nimo itong 40% sa 70% sales sa business tax sa Balamban. Okay? We have rule number 5. In case of 2 or more factories, project offices, plants, and plantations in different localities, the 70% shall be prorated among the localities where they are located in proportion to the respective volumes of production. Okay. So, i-allocate na nimo siya. Prorated. Illustration for you to better understand. A company has a principal office in Valenzuela, 2 factories located in Malolos City, Bulacan, and Mandawi City, Cebu, which produces 60% and 40% respectively in the total production of the year. It also has a branches selling merchandise in Muntinlupa, Bacolod, and Cebu City. So, saan siya? So, sales made in Valenzuela, of course, the principal office na siya, shall be paid and recorded in Valenzuela. Sales made in Muntinlupa, Bacolod, and Cebu City, since these are branches, should be taxable and recorded in their branches, so in the said cities. Sale in other places which do not have a sales branch shall be distributed as follows. Kung walay branch ang sale, so sale dito sa Davao. So saan man na siya? So ang halin dito sa Davao, i-record mo siya sa principal office sa Valenzuela. However, the allocation of the sales for business tax purposes should be as follows. 30% sa principal office, which is Valenzuela. Ang 70% should be distributed among the factories, okay, that you have. So you have to allocate 70% between Malolos and Mandawi based on factory volumes of production. So 42% shall be taxed in Manolo City and the 28% shall be taxed on Mandawi City. Because 60-40 man ang 60-40% man ang produced. Okay? So the sales allocation shall be applied irrespective of whether or not the sales are made in the locality where the factory, project office, or plantation is located. Excise tax, so the business tax is imposed on the performance of an act, enjoyment of a privilege, or engagement in an occupation. The power to levy such tax depends on the place in which the act is performed or the occupation is engaged, not upon the location of the office or the domicile of the person. And also the sales tax is the place of the consumption of the sale. Okay, sales tax one associated with the delivery of the things which are subject matter of the contract that determines the status of the contract for the purposes of taxation and not merely the place of the perfection of the contract of sale. Just take note. Okay. Municipal fees and charges for regulations or licensing fee. So as a general rule, the municipality may impose reasonable fees and charges on the conduct of business, practice, or profession, commensurate with the cost of regulation, inspection, and licensing. So exception, professional tax reserved to the province in Section 139. So professional tax is being imposed or collected by the province. Specific rules. So the municipality may impose reasonable fees for sealing and licensing of weight and measures. And also the municipality has exclusive authority to grant fishery privileges in municipal waters and impose rentals and charges there. So let's go to the taxing power of cities. So scope of taxing power. The city may levy taxes, fees, and charges which the province or municipality may impose. So kung saan may impose sa province or sa municipality, the city can also impose. Okay? Or can collect. The rates of taxes that the city may levy may exceed the maximum rate allowed for the province or municipality, but not more than 50%. Okay? So pwede siya mulapas sa tax rate yung mandated sa city, sa municipality and province, but dapat dili mula pa sa 50%. Rate of professional and amusement taxes, those are the exemption for the cities to collect. They cannot collect that. So let's go to taxing power of barangays. So the following shall accrue exclusively to the barangay. Okay, taxes on stores and retailers, of course, okay, with gross sales or receipt for the preceding calendar year of 50,000 or less in case of cities and 30,000 or less in case of municipalities. So they are the one who can collect the sales tax. But then again, rate should not be greater than 1% and the tax base is gross sales or receipts. Service fees of charges, the barangay can collect reasonable fees and charges for services rendered in connection with the renovation of the use of the barangay-owned properties or facilities, mga multi-purpose building, mga complex. So, the barangay can impose charges and fees. Of course, barangay clearance, a city or municipality cannot issue a permit for business without a clearance from the barangay. So, requirement yun na once mo kuha ang mayor's permit, mukha sa dito barangay clearance. Okay, so the barangay also can collect reasonable fees and charges on commercial breeding of fighting cocks and cockfights and cockpits. Also fees on recreation, which charge admission fees. Okay, and also billiard, signboards, neon signs, outdoor advertisement. So barangay can collect a tax on that. Okay, so common revenue raising power. So service fees and charges, LGUs may impose and collect such revenues and charges for services rendered. So again, the power is to raise revenue. Okay. Public utility charges, LGU may fix the rate for the operation of public utilities owned, operated, and maintained by them within their jurisdiction. Toll fees, of course, the sanggunian may prescribe the terms and conditions and fix the rate of the imposition of toll fees. Okay, or charges for the use of any public road, pier or wharf. So, kanang mga pier, mga municipality. So, they can ask for toll fees. Okay? So, just read through it. Just take note lang, no toll fees or charge shall be collected from officers and enlisted men of the AFP, members of the PNP and mission, post office personnel, delivering mail, persons who are physically handicapped, disabled citizens who are 65 years old are most mga tax, non-taxable, okay? So exempted. No toll fees can be collected. So let's go to the favorite topic, community tax. So who may levy community tax? It should be the cities or municipality. Okay? So who are liable? So individuals, inhabitants of the Philippines. So maski foreigner na siya, basta inhabitant siya sa Philippines and his age is 18 years of age and above. So either he is regularly employed on a wage or a salary basis for at least 30 consecutive working days during the calendar year. Wala ang uban mag-require yung nag-cedula every year, guys. So we need to pay cedula give. Okay, if you are a worker, part po siya sa requirements sa business permit. If you're engaged in business or occupation, you need also to pay community tax. If you own real property with aggregate assessed value of 1,000 or more, so you also need to pay community tax. And it's required by law to file an income tax return. So if you want to file an income tax return, na cedula dito number. Okay? But actually, recently, there's a ruling na pwede na dili cedula ang gamiton sa income tax return sa 1701, pwede na government ID. But some of the RDOs impose still cedula para lang to help the municipality or city to collect more tax. Mo nang mag-require kapag income tax. But sa Manila, Metro Manila, din na required ang cedula. Sa pag-file sa income tax return. Just a government ID lang. Say, of course, aside from individuals, community tax can be levied to juridical persons. So corporation, no matter how it was created or organized, either it is domestic or resident, foreign corporation, they are still liable to pay community tax, who is engaged or doing business in the Philippines. Okay. So what is the rate for community tax? It's very basic. You should know this. Sa individual, it should be annual community tax of 5 pesos. That's the standard, the basic 5 pesos, plus an annual tax of 1% per 1,000 of income, or 1 peso for every 1,000 income. Okay? So regardless whether the business, exercise, or profession, or property, but which should not exceed 5,000. So basically, if you're gonna ask, pila good ang maximum na mabayaran sa community tax sa individual, it is 5,005 pesos. Okay, maximum dapat ang 5,000. Okay? Then plus 5 pesos ka because that's the basic. So 5,005. Ano yung maximum na mabayaran? Okay? So pag compute, if you have 1,000 income, then you are liable to pay 1 peso. Okay? Every 1,000, 1 peso din. So if you are earning 100,000, 100,000 divided by 1,000, that's 100,000 divided by 1,000, that's 10,000. 100 ay. 100. Oh. So nag-earn kang income for the entire year of 100,000 divided by 1,000, so you will pay 100 plus 5 pesos nga basic, so 105. Okay? Husband and wife shall pay basic of 5 pesos each. Okay? So plus an additional tax of 1 peso for every 1,000 income based on the total property owned by them on the total gross earnings derived by them. So basically separate. Juridical person. So sa juridical person, ang ilang basic is 500. Sa individual is 5 pesos. Sa juridical person is 500, but it should not also exceed 10,000. Okay? So pinakadako na mabayaran is 10,500. Okay. So here, it is 2 pesos for every 5,000 worth of real property, guys, in the Philippines. If na kay mga real property, or either 2 pesos for every 5,000 gross receipts or earnings derived from the business in the Philippines. Okay, but still, di ka malapas og 10,000. Muna pagkumpisa si Dula. Take note that dividends received by a corporation from another corporation shall be deemed part of the gross receipts or earnings for purposes of computing additional tax. Okay, di ba? Di malata na siya dividends because intra-corporate dividends or domestic dividends is di ito siya taxable. But here, for determining the gross receipt for community tax purposes, it is added. Person exempt, of course, diplomatic and consular representative, di na sila mubayad og community tax. Okay, they are exempted. Transient visitors who stay in the Philippines for not more than 3 months. So, if foreigner ka, but nara ka dili for 2 months, dili na ka required to pay community tax. As a bayaran, where the individual resides or where the principal office of the juridical entity is located. Kung asa ka nagpuyo. In case of a branch sales office or warehouse where sales are made and recorded, corresponding community tax shall be paid to the LGU where such branch sales office or warehouse is located. Time of payment, it is January 1 of each year to be paid not later than last day of February each year. So that's the deadline. January 1 to Feb 28. Antig bayad o community tax. Okay, so if a person reaches 18 at the age or otherwise loses the benefit of exemption, so on or before June 30, he shall be liable on the day he reaches such age or upon the day of the exemption ends. If he reaches 18 on or before March 31, he shall have 20 days to pay without being delinquent. So again sumingon mo na pabayaran yung tax kay 18 ano. Diba na-added to sa constitution non-payment of poll tax. Okay, there no imprisonment for non-paying of poll tax. Poll tax is community tax. So there's mo so of course. Pero some of the employers require community tax for civil required siya. So man makuha gyud ka. Okay, if a person comes to reside in the Philippines or reaches 18 years old or ceases to belong to an exempt class on or after July 1, he shall not be subject to community tax for that year. Okay? So, July 1 nagi ka, nahimong 18, so you're not liable to pay community tax. If a corporation establishes and organized on or before June 30, liable siya. Kay June 30 pa man. Okay? On or before March 31, he shall pay within 20 days. Paway penalty. If na-organize siya after July 1, on or after July 1 or July 1 itself, hindi na siya subject to community tax. Next year na. Okay? Pero kung June 30 siya nakuan, liable pa siya for that year. Okay? Same goes sa above. So if an unpaid with a prescribed period, an interest of 24% per annum shall be added from the due date until payment. So kung makalimot o bayad, usually this is more on the businesses, and those employees mag-required cedula na. Kaya mag-penalty. Pero kung di ka mo bayad, di ka naman sa mo required, you will not be in prison. Okay, community tax certificate or the CTC. So it is issued to every person or corporation upon payment of the community tax. It may also be issued to any person or corporation that's subject to the community tax upon payment of 1 peso. Presentation of CTC is necessary when an individual is subject to community tax. So just like acknowledges a document before a notary public, CTC, but to be honest, right now, CTC, sa una part, mura siyang ID para sa notaryo, sa sworn statement, sa affidavit, but karon dili na, dapat government IDs na din siya ang gamiton, dili na cedula. Okay? So takes oath of office upon election or appointment to any position in the government, you need to pay or present a cedula, okay, or a community tax certificate. If you receive any license, certificate of permit from any public authority, okay, you need to pay a cedula. pays any tax or fees, you need to present your cedula. Again, depende sa RDO. This is related for income tax. Sa Manila, dili na required, IDs lang, government. Receive any money from public funds, so you need to present your certificate, tax certificate, or community tax certificate or cedula. If you transact other official business, so sometimes pangitan kag cedula, or if you receive any salary wage from any person or corporation, you need to present a cedula. Okay. Presentation of CTC is not needed in the registration of a voter. So collection of community tax. So the city municipal treasurer shall deputize the barangay. Muna kung gingon. So, di ba? The power to collect community tax is na sa city or municipality. However, the collection shall be deputized the barangay treasurers to collect provided the latter be bonded. Okay, so pwede na makakollect ang barangay but bond na sila. Okay, of course, you know, waldason yun ang part na sa barangay. Na sila bond, mo file na sila dito kung mo issue sila of cedula. So, distribution of the proceeds of the cedula. So, saan na? If the community tax is actually directly collected by the city or municipal treasurer, the proceeds shall accrue entirely to the general fund of the city or municipality. So, muna kasagaran, ato dyan kang bayad sa city hall or sa munisipyo. Hindi na ila i-deputize. Okay? I-deputize na, makuhaan man na. Okay? So, sila na lang mo collect 100% sa ilaha. If the community tax is collected through the barangay treasurer, the proceeds shall be apportioned equally between the city, municipality, and the barangay. Muna, kung i-deputize din sa barangay at tubang cedula, so kung na 5,000 gibayaran nito, kung nga sila, 2,500 sila. 2,500 sa barangay, 2,500 sa munisipyo. Okay. Next is, I think it will be the last part, sa part 1. So, common limitation on the taxing power of the LGU. So, unless others provided, the following cannot be levied by the local government. So, what are those na dili pwede levied sa local government? Income tax, except when levied on banks and other financial institutions under Section 143. Of course, income tax because that's a national tax. Documentary stamp tax, that is also a national tax. Taxes on estate, inheritance, gifts, legacies, and other acquisition mortis causa is also cannot be levied by the local government because those are national taxes. Exemption, tax on transfer of real property. Of course, real property tax man na siya, transfer. So it can be imposed by the local government. Customs duties, registration fees of vessel, wharfage, tonnages, dues, and all other kinds of customs fees and charges and dues cannot be levied by the local government. Exemption, wharfage or on wharves constructed and maintained by the LGU concerned because those are considered as toll fees. You just read through it. What's a wharfage? It means a fee assessed against the cargo or vessel engaged in a foreign or domestic trade based on quantity, weight, or measure received or discharged by the vessel. Okay, just take note the taxes, fees, or charges on goods carried out into or out or passing through the territorial jurisdiction of the LGU in the guise of charges for wharfage, tolls for bridges, and otherwise or other taxes, fees, and charges in any form. Dili pwede ka maniging sa akong law professor nga. Moagi ragi ka, di ka pwede nga kadaagi nimo bayad kag tax. Okay? Passing through raman ka. Okay? Sa territorial jurisdiction bitang di kay Balangban. Wanto ko og Lapu-Lapu. So moagi kog Cebu City, bayad na sa Cebu City. Karga ko sa akong goods. Kaya wanto ko sa Mandawi, bayad na sa Cebu. No, mamahal ang kaya i-add mo sa presyo. Sa mga yung sa akong law professor, dili pwede ka impose ang local government units. Every time na mo pass through sa ilaha, payuan nila og tax or charges. Because passing through naman ka of carrying your goods and service. Goods, okay? So that's it. That's under the Palma Development Corp versus Municipality of Malangas. Because kasi sa Municipality of Malangas, ilang mong gugi. Kada agi sa mga truck, nga na goods, ilang pangayuan o kanang charge. So, nareklamo. Ano ba kayo charge? Kung may charge, di lang mo agi diri. Basta sa lasyon, mo agi sa lasyon. Adto ram siniluan wala. So, ilang reklamo ko nung mga ayo si Malangas. Okay? So, kana siya. According to Supreme Court, prohibits the LGU is prohibited from the imposition in the guise of warpage or fees as well as other taxes or charges in any form whatsoever on goods or merchandise. It is therefore irrelevant if the fees imposed are actually for police surveillance or other goods because any other form of imposition of goods passing through, take note, passing through the territorial jurisdiction of the municipality is clearly prohibited. Basta passing through lagi ka, that is clearly prohibited. Okay. Taxes and fees and charges of agricultural and aquatic products when sold by marginal farmers or fishermen. You cannot impose taxes there because marginal farmers and fishermen, livelihood program na lang yung taxes, right? Another is taxes on business enterprise certified to be the Board of Investment as pioneer of non-pioneer for the period of 6 to 4 years. We call this one as the BMBE, Barangay Micro Enterprise. Barangay Micro Business Enterprise. Those are non-taxable, exempted. You cannot impose. I mean, the local government cannot impose on those businesses. BMBE, Barangay Micro Business Enterprise. Excise taxes on articles enumerated under the NRSC is amended and taxes or charges on petroleum products. So, dili naka-impose ang local government because it's an excise tax exercised by the national government, national tax. Of course, percentage tax or VAT. Okay, so you can't impose because those are national taxes. So just take note, itong mga national taxes list, hindi na pwede ma-impose sa local government. Okay, so kung ba mo ito, income tax, excise tax, value-added tax, percentage and other percentage tax, okay, documentary stamp tax, estate tax, donors tax. Those 7 na pwede ma-impose sa local government. There's an exception sa percentage tax, but what is this? Tax on business of printing and publication imposed by provinces and cities. So they can collect percentage taxes. One. Amusement tax imposed by the province. Di ba namin percentage tax sa amusement, di ba? Napod sila yung lahat. Okay? And tax on business imposed by municipality or manufacturer or seller, contractors enumerated in Section 143 of the local government code. And also taxes on gross receipt of transportation contractor, person engaged in transportation of passengers or freight by hire and common carriers by air, land, or water. The local government also cannot impose business tax. Exemption, of course, tricycle. Okay, asa man tricycle within the municipality, naman within the barangay, right? So they can impose, business tax on those tricycle. But the mga buses, dili na. Aeroplano, of course, dili na. Taxes on premiums paid by way of reinsurance or retrocession. So you cannot impose, the local government cannot impose the one. Taxes, fees, and charges for the registration of motor vehicles and for the issuance of all kinds of license permits for driving thereof. Di na pagka-impose ang local government because that is under the national government through its LPO. Taxes, fees, and other charges in the Philippine products actually exported, of course. Export naman. Ito na sa customs by right. Exemption to that letter M is exporters of essential commodities. Diba? Kato mga sugar, rice, corn. So, though taxan po to sa imported sa export, makatax pag yun ang local government on that one. And another, the local government can impose taxes, fees, or charges on countryside and barangay business enterprise and cooperative duly registered under the Republic Act 6810 or the Magna Carta for countryside and barangay business enterprise. So kana mga small enterprises, kay mga countryside, kay mga poor barangays or municipalities, you don't need to, to impose business tax on those, including the cooperative. And last one is LGU cannot impose taxes, fees, and charges of any kind on the national government, its agencies and instrumentalities and LGUs. Of course, if na SSS di sa kuan or GSIS sa inyong barangay, so municipality, you are not asked for business tax because those are government agencies. Okay? So now, I will have this as the last part. Diba? As mentioned, para makakollect sila taxes, there must be a tax ordinance that is, enacted by the local legislative body. So we need to discuss what is the requirements for a valid tax ordinance. So a local tax ordinance is the power to impose a tax, fee, or charge, or to generate revenue under the local government code shall be exercised by the sanggunian concerned through an appropriate ordinance. So what are the tests or the requirements to be valid? So it must not contravene to the Constitution or any statute. As mentioned ako ganina, because follow yun na pinaka-lowest mo ng ordinance code. So dapat align na siya sa law, national law, and it should align sa Constitution. Because any law or ordinance in contravention sa Constitution is unconstitutional and not valid. Number two, it must not be unfair or oppressive. The ordinance must not be partial or discriminatory. Kasi ng ordinance, mga kuan lang, ang mga tricycle driver lang. However, ang mga tricycle driver, wala. Something like that. Dapat really discriminatory. Okay? It must not prohibit but may regulate the trade. So dapat ang ordinance na dili na pwede mag-business, dili na ang ordinance. Okay? Kung hindi ka bayad, dili na pwede mag-business. Dili na ang ordinance. It should not prohibit but regulate. I-regulate mo ang pag-conduct ng business. It must be general and consistent with the public policy. It must not be unreasonable. Okay, so dapat ang pag-impose mo, reasonable ang amount, reasonable ang tax rate. Walang guidelines ang LGC on the tax rate. So note that an ordinance is presumed valid unless declared otherwise by a court in an appropriate proceeding. So procedure for approval of tax ordinances. So dapat within 10 days from the filing of the proposed tax ordinance, the same shall be published. Effective siya within 10 days from the filing of the proposed tax ordinance. Dapat the same shall be published for 3 consecutive days in a newspaper of a local circulation or posted simultaneously in at least 4 conspicuous public places within the territorial jurisdiction of the LGU. Okay, so kung na kay ordinance, dapat within 10 days i-file nimo ang imong ordinance and should be published in the newspaper. And for 3 consecutive days and 4 occupational spaces, public places din. Okay, another, the sanggunian shall send written notices specifying the date and venue of public hearing. Dapat mag-public hearing man, right? Sa ordinance. So dapat mag-send ka notices sa mga constituents nimo. Kanusta and asa mag-public hearing. Number 3, the public hearing must be held not earlier than 10 days from the sending notices of the last day of publication or the date of posting, whichever is later. Okay, this is just to give time for the, the constituents to read your ordinance. Okay, dapat mo na nga, must be held not earlier than 10 days. Or the date of last posting, whichever is later. Number 4 is that an ordinance must be approved on third reading by a majority of the sanggunian members present, there being a quorum. So, mura siya law, dapat may first reading, second reading, and third reading. Mura siya law sa kongresan. And it should be approved by majority of the members present, there being a quorum. So again, quorum is majority is different. Quorum is, for example, there are 7 councilors, quorum is 5. Para quorum is required to conduct business. Okay? To conduct business sa session. So kung ang wala ang nito nga concern is tulo lang, there's no quorum. Then there's no valid business nga gikan na. So dapat na quorum. Okay? So 7 is 5, quorum is 5 sa 7, and then majority vote sa 5 is 3. Okay? So mo na required. The enacted ordinance shall be presented to the local chief executive who may, of course, once na-approve na ninyo, majority ninyo, then quorum mo, majority ninyo ni-vote ng ordinance, i-present na ninyo sa mayor, sa governor. So, the local chief executive may approve the same by affixing his signature, pirmahan lang niya, murag balaod, or i-veto niya, o di niya approvean. So, and return the same with his objection to the sanggunian within 15 days in case of a province and 10 days in case of a municipality. So dapat kung naidiganan si Governor Gwen, yan na i-return sa provincial board 15 days, within 15 days. Pero kung si Mayor Labella lang na, i-return na niya within 10 days sa city or municipal council. Otherwise, the ordinance shall be deemed approved. So kung hindi na niya ma-return, hindi na niya ma-veto, considered na as approved within 15 days. Mura na po nagbalaod na to. If not acted. Okay. Note that the local chief executive, except the Punong Barangay, may, okay, take note, except the Punong Barangay may veto any ordinance on the ground that it is ultra vires or prejudicial to the public welfare. Ultra vires is contrary to public welfare. His reason shall be stated in writing, and the LCE may veto an ordinance only once. Kausa lang, siya maka-veto sa ordinance. And then the sanggunian may override the veto. Pwede. Veto ni mayor. Dili. Ato ning ikuan, i-override ang veto ni mayor. Saan man. So the local chief, the sanggunian by 2/3 vote of its all members, making the ordinance effective. So dapat makakuha silang 2/3 votes nga i-override nila ang veto para ma-effective ang ordinance. Once approved, the ordinance shall be transmitted to the higher level sanggunian for review. So, if no action taken by the latter within 30 days after submission, the same shall be approved. So, sa maning higher level sa sanggunian, so, kung barangay ka, ato ni ipa-review sa munisipyo or sa city. Munisipyo ka or city, ato sa provincial board. Except sa highly urbanized sa Cebu City, stand-alone din sila. So, within 10 days after the approval of the ordinance, certified 2 copies of all tax ordinances or revenue measures shall be published in full 3 consecutive days in a newspaper of a local circulation. So when there are no newspaper of local circulation, it can be posted in at least 2 spacious and publicly accessible places. So i-post yung ordinance, usually sa simbahan, markets. Effectivity of the ordinance. So unless otherwise stated in the ordinance, the same shall take effect after 10 days. So lahi sa balaod, Article 2, 15 days man to. Dere ang ordinance, effective siya after 10 days. From the date a copy is posted at the entrance of the provincial capital or city municipal or barangay hall, as the case may be, and in at least 2 other auspicious places in the LGU concerned. In cases the effectivity falls on a date other than the beginning of the quarter, the same shall be considered as falling at the beginning of the next quarter. So, effective date niya, effective falls on any date other than the beginning. So, July 1 man ang ang third quarter. Effective siya is July 20. So, consider siya, adto na siya effective sa October. Kay tax ordinance man, October 1. Okay? Okay. Ana na sa takutob, I will have a separate video for collection of tax.